Today we are here at 475 Harriet Street. This is a legal triplex that my client Michael bought here in the city of Welland. My name is Ryan. I'm an investment coach with Team Koukun Real Estate. If you're interested in working with us, feel free to check out our free guide to creating a legal basement apartment below. Hey Michael, how's it going today?
How's it going?
Good, man. We're here at your property, obviously. It's coming along really nice. You've got like 2 of the 3 units done pretty much now. Just want to ask you a couple questions. We'll start with what got you interested in real estate investing?
Yeah, I think my first kind of foray into investing was house hacking. So I realized when I was kind of trying to buy my first property to live that it was actually cheaper over the long term to buy a place that was a bit more expensive up front and have some tenants carry a good chunk of the mortgage. So that was kind of my first foray, and then I think it snowballed after that into purpose-built investment properties.
Awesome, awesome. So what investment property number is this for you then? Because you're obviously pretty experienced. You didn't just, this isn't the first property you bought with us or at all. So where are you kind of at in your investing journey now, from house hacking all the way to?
Yeah, so this one's number 6.
Awesome.
I got a couple more projects kind of in the fire right now. And I'd say I probably developed from sort of buy and hold strategy into some BRRRRs, some cosmetic BRRRRs, some upgrade projects, let's call them, and then into proper conversions. So this would have been my first triplex conversion. So adding a unit upstairs and adding a unit into the basement, and then of course this unit.
So now that we're here, we've gone to, property number 6. What was kind of specific to this property that, made you want to purchase it?
Yeah, so when we were doing the walkthrough, if you remember, we were upstairs checking out sort of the ability to make this thing into a duplex, and quickly came to the conclusion that we could probably add a 3rd unit. So it required a little bit of creativity with the dormer up there, but ultimately it had so much space to add usable square footage. So the triplex was really the attractive bit, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Now, if you remember on that same walkthrough with your inspector, what did we find in this that kind of almost made us actually walk away from this property?
Yeah, so I guess the thing that we found at some point was the structural support, which was changed before I purchased it with the previous owners to open up this main floor.
This right here,
was actually not done correctly. So we had to factor in the cost of adding the proper supports below, which took a little bit of time and sort of adjusted our numbers a bit, but ultimately the deal still made sense. And those are, I think, the big things you want to find before you firm up the offer.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. It was funny. We kind of initially offered on this place thinking it as a duplex.
Yeah.
Running our numbers in one way.
Yeah.
Then we came here and found like good and bad. And so, it would have been nice if we obviously could have got it for less, but at the end of the day, the fact that we got to add a unit kind of made up for the additional cost that we were going to be
100%.
incurred, right?
100%.
So, all right, now time to get into the nitty gritty. So if you don't mind, Michael, can you take us through the numbers on this project? Maybe kind of what it was when we bought it, and then, kind of what it is going to be.
No problem. So we purchased it for $475 back in December, I guess it would have been, or November.
Yep.
Purchased it for $475. The goal was probably to put somewhere between $200,000 and $250,000 worth of renovation costs into this. Again, that's to bring it to a triplex, not just from a single family to a duplex. And we're hoping to achieve about $5,000 a month total in rent between the 3 units. Mm-hmm. And we're kind of well on the way there, so I'm confident that that's what we're going to end up with. And so the refinance is definitely in flux. We'll see based on the changing rates. But I think I'd probably be happy somewhere around the 800 mark at this point. Mm-hmm. And we have actually some pretty good comparables, I think, in the area that are going to help us achieve that.
Yeah, no, I would agree for sure that the ARV is definitely fluctuating at this current time. Yeah. But yeah, like we've had a lot of clients where as long as rents are supporting it, that you're usually able to, pull out what you put into it and maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the strategy on this essentially is if we need to wait a little bit longer, like if we were so dependent on the rate being steady, I think we fundamentally drop the ball on strategy.
Right.
So if rate goes up a little bit and ARV comes down a little bit and we have the ability to hold longer because the place is cash flowing, I think that's the sweet spot you want to be.
For sure, for sure.
Otherwise, you're essentially in the same position as a flip, right?
Yeah.
Which wasn't the strategy on this.
No, for sure, absolutely. So you've got, what, 1 of these 3 units rented out right now?
Yep, we got 1 under lease, and then we're looking for somebody upstairs, and the basement is still to be completed.
Awesome. What's about our timeline are you thinking for the basement left to be done here?
We're probably 4 to 5 weeks out, I would say, on the basement. Yeah, so not too far away. Timelines were very close to the original expectation, so pretty happy there. and hopefully we can get that rent out quickly.
Beautiful, beautiful. So throughout this whole process, obviously it's been several months, and we've done structural.
Yeah.
You've added a dormer upstairs.
Yep.
We've redone a lot of different things here. What are maybe some of the kind of struggles or challenges that maybe you can highlight for for people, letting you know what you went through?
Yeah, so I would say two of the biggest things in terms of challenges. One, completely expected originally when we bought, and the other one not. So I would say the expected piece was obviously the dormer, right? We realized that it was a story and a half, it was a 1.5 story property. And so we had a lot of space on the edges upstairs, but we could sort of change the angle of the roof on as much of the linear footage across widthwise of the house as we could. And that one obviously added to our original budget, but I think that now it's something I kind of have under my belt as an investor. Went through a lot of the process to plan that, not only with the designers, but also with the contractors who've done it a couple times at that point. So I would say that was kind of the biggest added cost beyond what someone may consider as a more traditional triplex conversion. The other one, which again was sort of unexpected until we were on site doing the inspection, was obviously the structural support of the main floor. As they opened it up, as I mentioned earlier, we needed to add some posts downstairs to essentially ensure that the stability was still where it needed to be. So that one definitely added some cost as well. And in my opinion, obviously that's not something necessarily that pushes the rent like it would, and thus the profitability of the entire project, like the dormer would, because the dormer adds usable space. That's the poster, obviously, structural, roof, things like that are just things that we expect to be good from the beginning.
Right.
So not necessarily changing the ARV, but still necessary to bake into your costs.
For sure, for sure. So when obviously you've done this a few times now, I'm sure you've run into some challenges, or not challenges, but in all your projects, when you're going through and running your numbers, is there kind of like, a margin of kind of safety you like to have in terms of like, okay, rental budget's estimated to be 225 or whatever, or 150 or whatever it ends up being? Do you always try and have like kind of a percentage margin of safety, or do you kind of just keep an extra little cash reserve?
For sure.
Do you do that?
Yeah, I think one of the things a lot of people forget to bake in beyond just a cost percentage, right? Because obviously you want sort of anywhere between 15 and 25% extra in cash reserves than the estimate is to do the project. But I think the other piece which a lot of people forget is actually the time that it takes to do that extra, right? So if the permits come in late, or there's a delay in your contractor, or a number of other things, the carrying costs of that time, the rent that you're foregoing, the mortgage payments that still need to be paid, as well as everything else, is definitely something that you have to factor in. So I would say, again, anywhere between 15 and 20% for the renovation costs, as well as 100% of the carrying costs during that time.
Yeah. Awesome, awesome. That's great advice for our newer investors, and even probably some of our older investors who like to fly by the seat of our pants. So,
right.
So we know something was behind this wall, even though it doesn't look like it. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So funny story. Shortly after we closed, we actually realized that there was a window here that was covered up in not the most professional manner prior to. So no draft. We made sure we insulated it well, etc. But not something I typically expect behind a kitchen.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny that we went through it. We had, I think even Koukun came through it.
Yeah.
We had an inspector through it. We
Yeah.
might have even had a contractor come through it.
Yeah.
Before any of us clued into realizing that
We had the designers. We had literally a team come through it, and not one person called it out or realized it.
But yeah, fortunately there could have been bigger misses. But yeah, just kind of funny that if you don't see a window from one side, you don't think to look on the other side.
Right. Always look on all angles at all times before firming up.
Find those windows.
Yeah.
So Michael, can you tell us a little bit about what your experience has been like working with Team Koukun?
Yeah, no problem. I'd say throughout the process, I mean, overall you guys have been great. I think that one of the things I really appreciate about working together, both with yourself, with Koukun, with everyone else on the team, is your reliability, and I would say how quick you are at responding when I'm sort of in need. And I would say in this particular business, the ability to adapt comes in ebbs and flows. And sometimes you go for a long period of time with nothing needed, and other times you need to move really, really quickly. And I would say your ability to adapt and move quickly when we needed to, whether it was on the close of a deal or on something after the deal, which I find a lot of realtors sort of move on quickly after the deal, whether it was on either of those timeframes, you guys have done an excellent job. So I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. Yeah, it's I think we've done with Team Koukun. You've probably done what of the six, four
deals,
yeah, 4 of the deals. Yeah. So I mean, it's obviously we've gotten to know each other over time, and it's always nice working with somebody that's, pragmatic as well in their decision making. And I think that's something that I notice a lot as you work with investors and they, buy multiple properties with you. They get more and more or less and less emotional basically about the decision making. It's just like, this is what we have to do. And
yeah, there are definitely situations where we got lucky and moved in quickly and things worked out well, and other situations where it took us a few swings. But your persistence on that front, I think, was super helpful and is the reason we've done 4, I think, and hopefully more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for watching today. If you like the content that you saw today, feel free to like, subscribe, or comment below. And if there's something you'd like us to discuss, feel free to let us know that as well. Thanks for watching and see you next time.